Hello and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and series and decide which movie is in another castle. It's me, your host Griner, and joining me today...
Mamma mia, I am Mario. Oh no, Luigi Mario.
And I'm Luke, and 1,000 troops of Koopas couldn't keep me from you.
All right, we're covering Mario. There's not three movies. It's not a trilogy. There's only two. The 1993 classic, Fever Dream. I don't know. We'll get to it. And then the Mario 2023. There'll probably be more. We'll probably have to cover this again as an actual trilogy. But we just wanted an excuse to talk about Mario 1993 because that movie is a hell of a ride. Boys.
It is wild.
How do you guys feel about Mario in general? I'm a big fan. Big fan of the 2D games. Had a bit of a break there in the middle where I didn't own a Wii of any variety, but really enjoyed Mario Galaxy. And I remember when Mario 1993 came out, I was really excited because it was a video game on the screen. Luke, you have a history with this movie, right? 1993?
I do. So, I don't know why this film was just in my house when I was young. Obviously, I was only 1 or 2 when this film came out, but I feel like, at the age of 5 or 6, this was just constantly playing on a VCR in my house. I don't think I've watched it since I was a young kid, so a lot of stuff I was like, okay, that's right. It was just vague PTSD like memories. I was like, there's someone that's all slimy and gooey that I find scary, and something going on. But yeah, I don't know. My brothers had this going on in the house all the time, and they loved it. There were certain scenes just I knew was coming up when it come up, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, this is what happens in this scene," and I just knew it like the back of my hand. And yeah, Fever Dream.
Yeah, that's right.
kind of.
This movie is so freaking weird. Like I'd never seen it before. It's older than
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah, and I'd never like my connection to Mario in general is kind of tenuous. Like I was a big fan of the SNES and the N64 versions. Like I grew up on playing Super Mario 64, so it's a big part of my life. But then I missed the rest of it. Once I moved on and got like an Xbox, I never had a Nintendo console again until the Switch now. And so I missed all of Galaxy and Odyssey and all the other big ones. So I'm kind of we'll talk about this, but I'm kind of the worst market for this 2023 movie because I have a bit of nostalgia, but not too much, and I have no affection for it sort of currently. So I get missed. But this movie, the 1993 movie, is the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time. It is it is just fascinating. It's like more than anything, it's just the story behind the film is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the most interesting relics of time, right? Like this movie. And that's the thing. There's always been legends about it. I've always known that it's like the infamous Super Mario Bros. Film. It kind of killed video game adaptations for most of modernity until now, really. And so, there's a real legacy, and everyone knows stories about it. And then, the true story behind it is even weirder again. And then watching it again, it's like, what the hell? Like, how does this exist? It is really fascinating.
It is truly a relic of its time. I mean, video game adaptations has been a bit of a white whale for a while. Like everybody, it feels like so many studios, so many IPs have been tried. We've had Tomb Raiders, Resident Evils, and they keep making a lot of them, but they never, there was never a good one until I feel like Sonic kind of broke the mold and was universally appealing, and, critics were like, it's fine. And then obviously recently we've had The Last of Us, which was a breakout hit, absolute blockbuster, critically and, audience acclaimed. And then we have this movie breaking records, like Mario 2023, breaking records, the biggest animated opening ever, beating Frozen 2. Like that's
saying something. Yeah.
That's really saying something. Do you guys, I don't know, my opinion has kind of been, there are other stories out there to tell. Video games tell video game stories, let movies tell movie stories. Do you guys feel like video game adaptations is a worthy white whale to hunt? Like, are they worth adapting?
I mean, it's coming. It's coming now.
There's no stopping
Mario,
them now. Yes,
man, every game company right now is getting calls from agents and like people like, okay, I hear your game's good. Let's adapt that into a movie. It's going to make blockbusters. I don't know. Obviously, there's a few things like I was a big fan of the Last of Us game, and I was obviously I was like, I don't know if I ever need a TV show of that, but I loved the TV show of that, and it's like very cool to see a different, not interpretation of it, but like a different media of that, different format. Um, there's certain stories that I feel like work for video games,
Yeah.
because of your active participation in it, where it's like, okay, that's
Yes.
an awesome game. Like Shadow of the Colossus or something like that, where I'm like, okay, but I feel like that doesn't translate to a movie. I feel like, that's good for a game. Metal Gear Solid, you'd need 20 seasons of HBO to explain the backstory on one character. But I don't know. I feel like there's definitely some room there for them to get some cool stories and to see it done on the big screen. I'm kind of excited for it. Even Uncharted, I was excited to go watch that movie, and it was literally like, let's grab everything from all 4 of these movies and put them into one thing in case we never can make another one.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed what it was, and it did all right. And if it can be more faithful and fun, then yeah, Hollywood's not opposed to remaking and rebooting and doing all this sort of stuff. So I'm surprised it hasn't come sooner, dipping into video games. But yeah.
Yeah, we saw that with Mortal Kombat, right? Like we had Mortal Kombat in the 90s, and then we had the 2020, 2021 version.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
It was pretty good. It was fine. Like,
it was fine, yeah.
I had fun with it.
Yeah. It wasn't as mind-blowing as it wasn't like The Last of Us. It wasn't sort of revelatory, but has potential, and there's a sequel coming, so I'm excited for that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, video games is obviously movies for the longest time have been adapting books, right? Like there's at the Oscars, there's 2 categories: there's adapted screenplay and original. And it's a known fact that not most, but a huge amount, if not an even split, of films that come out, especially successful ones, are usually based off well-loved source material. And books are very different to video games, and that's kind of where it seems natural that this finally happens.
Yeah,
like I said, it's been a long time coming for this. But yeah, it is kind of a different question, because on the surface, it's like, yeah, you just adapt the story of a video game. But the problem with Mario in both films is like, what do you adapt? There's no story to that game. And that's the case with a lot of early ones. And things will start changing now with the change of the medium. Like, books are thousands of years old. So I'm sure the first books were pretty crap. And so adapting them into a movie would have been weird. Video games are 50 years old as a medium. It's like, yeah, at first you only had so many pixels. You couldn't really tell a story when you can't include any sound or anything more. But now you have things like The Last of Us that are mocap and look as good as CG movies. Like,
yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. I think we'll get some really great adaptations from this. And I'm fine with it. Like, I'm okay with seeing this content get adapted, because I don't know if it's gonna I don't know with video games. I don't think it will swallow other stuff, because video games still kind of have a stigma about them, and so I still think a lot of these movies that have come out still have a bit of shade on them, and people, general audiences aren't like, oh, Assassin's Creed, that sounds fascinating. They probably
man, I forgot about that.
They go, what is that? Oh, it's basically a video game. I'm not going to see that. Whereas, even Marvel, I think, has more of a different kind of reputation, that more people would be inclined to see that traditionally than they would necessarily a video game adaptation.
I think Mario has that kind of reputation too, though. Like, I think almost everyone can remember playing Mario at some point, even if it's just like Mario Kart or Mario Party.
Yeah.
In a group setting, they have some memory of Mario. It's not.
And I think we've reached a moment in history, like 2020s, is long enough along the line where, yeah, everyone who's sort of going out to the movies has grown up with video games existing.
And like, people making movies now have grown up playing these games and love these characters and love these stories. And then they're like, hey, I make movies, I make this. I'd love to do that and make that into a movie as well. And it's like, I don't know, it's bound to come. I'm sure you'll regret it once like Netflix release their BioShock show, but
it's gonna be a hard journey. There is gonna be a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to that point, like the 90s when these first ones coming out, like I'm looking at Wikipedia, he had Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Like So the people playing those, they would
Arcade.
be arcade games, people who would
Yeah.
be born in the 80s. So their parents would have been, 50s, 60s sort of things. Like they're all in their 70s and 80s. Like, so they're kind of the ones who aren't really going to movies anymore. But for the longest time, when these adaptations were being done, they were the prime sort of market, both either as the audience or as parents of the audience.
Yeah.
But now that's shifted. Gen X is the parents. They're the ones who are seeing it, and then millennials or Zoomers are the ones who are also done. And we've all been touched by these things. So
Yeah.
and I think like 2023 Mario speaks to that. Like it's made so much money.
Really has. I guess my concern
time.
is always like, are we losing out on original IPs for this? But I don't think we are. Like as you say, there's so many book adaptations out there, and maybe if I was a real book fiend and I was reading all of those books, I'd be like, oh come on, give me some original stories. But
Yeah.
because I'm not devouring every book that's written, I don't mind the book adaptations. I don't know, and maybe because I'm devouring so many video games, I'm like I don't, I've seen this story. Give me something original and new.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I think that's I want to talk about this later, but I'll probably forget, so I'll mention it briefly now. Is just that with Mario, especially, like it kind of doesn't adapt anything. It is almost a direct recreation,
Create its own thing almost. Just
which
do whatever in the world of Mario.
Yeah, and so what I kind of want, like the nature of adaptation, the strengths of The Last of Us is the obvious comparison in this time, is that it kind of changed enough. It changed things that need to be changed. It didn't include long sections of Joel killing people. It didn't include specific choices because there wasn't much there for TV. And so video games are ripe for that adaptation, right? Like doing things and go, okay, adapt this world, expand on this, fill things in here. The concern is when they don't do that, a la Mario, and they just go, no, we've got to play it possibly the safest we can, and we will recreate this exact essence. And I think that genre is sort of is where I'd agree with you. I'd be scared if we just get movies that are like that. It's like, have you played? I don't know. I was gonna say GoldenEye, but it's not a great example. It's just, have you played this game? Well, get ready to play it again, but this time you're sitting and staring at it.
Get ready to spot all the references because that's all this movie has.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
All right, let's kick it off. Super Mario 1993 had a budget. Oh, Luke, do you want to do the stats song? I'm sorry. I stepped all over the stats song.
Stats.
Mario 93 had a budget of $48 million, made a whopping $20 million. Possibly the first absolute undeniable flop we've had on this podcast, I think. I think everything else we've done has been profitable, although Hollywood...
What was the budget?
48 million, apparently. I mean, look, these numbers are probably a little assumed, I think.
That's part of the story. Grew hugely out of budget.
Wow.
But yeah, the first
all those Goombas.
Proper flop. Mario 2023, budget of $100 million, made $447 million to date.
Yeah.
That's like a week old.
Yeah.
It's an absolute juggernaut.
Are
Breaking records.
Are you guys surprised at this? I am surprised.
No, not at all. I 100% expected everything we got. I think super. Well, we'll get into the movie, but not the best movie ever, but absolutely profitable.
It was super. It had the Mario Brothers. What else were you expecting, guys?
I was expecting it to do really well. I wasn't expecting it. Oh, it's going to pass Frozen 2.
No, that does surprise me a little. Yeah,
it's doing very well. Here's the thing. I guess it's different all around the world, so it's very specific to Australia. But it's launched right at school holidays, where cinemas are open every day in regional towns, and kids are just not doing anything, and parents can sit in their kids to the movies over and over again, sort of thing. But it's going to make a lot of money, sort of thing, and it's Illumination. I wasn't expecting it to be a great film. I was expecting it to be a Despicable Me with Mario characters in it, and that's basically what this is, sort of thing. Yeah. But
I mean, it is the Easter weekend everywhere, so there is some holiday period there for a lot of countries anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry, Mario. Critical reception. Mario 1993, 35 Metascore. Mario 2023, a 46 Metascore. I thought it worth pointing out, 8.7 user score. 8.7.
On what?
On Metacritic. Metacritic.
For the new one?
Yes, for the new one. The Metacritic user score is very, very high.
Okay, that is... What's the
A
metric?
lot,
for it?
lot
Is
of
it
kids going online being like,
Yeah.
"This is the best movie
I
ever."
love metrics. They just
Wahoo!
I don't know, but I think people kind of like this movie. I mean, it's 7.4 on IMDb.
Yeah,
That's
I'm-
again user ratings.
I'm not too surprised at that. Like, but I mean, I'm just basing this off my feel. I have absolutely nothing empirical to talk about with that. But,
Yeah. All right,
yeah.
let's
What's
dig
its,
in.
sorry, what's its Rotten Tomatoes off the top of it? Does anyone know? Probably 100%. It's probably better than Citizen Kane, isn't it?
Let's have a look.
Freaking farce.
It's low.
58%.
Oh, okay. The one time I
96% user score.
okay
Again, like
Yeah.
critics not loving it. Audience is right into it. So
Again, the critics are out of touch with what we want.
I know we need to replace them with AI reviews. That's what we need.
no, it's the audience that's wrong.
It's the children that are.
All right, Mario 1993. Two Brooklyn plumbers, Mario and Luigi, must travel to another dimension to rescue a princess from the evil dictator King Koopa and stop him from taking over the world.
Literally sounds like the same plot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, they even did the dimension. Like watching the 1993 movie, I'm like, man, the opening of this movie, they're describing alternate dimensions, the past with asteroids.
The dawn of history.
Like it's a really high concept plot for no real reason. But
Bro,
then we
you
get
were-
pretty much the same plot.
Yeah, granted, what was happening in the 90s? You were alive more than we were. What was going on in that time? Like,
I mean, in terms of this movie, I have no idea. This movie is an absolute fever dream. But like watching this, I got like heaps of flashbacks to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
and
that
stuff
was-
like that. Like
Even
lots of
Ghostbusters, kind of.
yeah, Ghostbusters,
well.
all these
Yeah,
weirdly
true.
like slimy and grimy movies for not a whole lot of reason. Lots of like bad CGI on top of average puppetry. Like lots of that around as well. Like average practical effects with really early CGI on budgets that can't handle it. Yeah.
is it I wonder if it's the Ghostbusters effect because I forgot about Ninja Turtles. But yeah, that's a great example. Like, sort of grimy and feel like punkish,
Yeah.
but still family friendly. Like it's really trying
I
to.
hadn't
appeal
thought of
to-
Ghostbusters being the start of that, but you might be right.
But I wonder if that's
I
sort of-
won't take credit for that. That was my wife. Like the whole time, she was like, "This movie just feels like Ghostbusters." She was like, "I don't
Yeah.
know, it reminds me so much of Ghostbusters." But
yeah,
I love
I guess
Ninja Turtles.
because there's definitely the
Yeah.
eight. I don't, but there's definitely the 80s sense, like the 80s feeling in these movies, even
Yeah.
though they're 90s. Yeah. Anyway, look,
Definitely
this movie
feels like an '80s movie. Feels like
Yeah.
'80s, '90s, early.
Yeah. So you guys both have nostalgia for this. Like, was it
A
did you
little
enjoy-
bit. Like I've seen it once. I don't think I thought it was a great movie, but I was like, it's video games on the big, like it's video games in a movie. I didn't watch this in the cinema, but
Yeah.
that excited me about it. That I thought that was cool. Watching it now, like it's an absolute fever dream of a movie. It's just so strange.
I didn't know what to expect for it. I came into it completely blind.
I would have
Um,
loved to have just been in your mind and just seen your reactions to this
It was
film.
it was wild, and like I knew obviously that it was a weird steampunkish adaptation. From the very front cover, you can see it's different. But I was just not expecting, the history, the whole history lesson of
Dinosaurs and-
dimension shifting from dinosaurs,
Yeah.
like just Bob Hoskins trying to run a serious business with
Yeah.
John Leguizamo. But then like the whole all of the dinosaur thing, but they're like there's Princess Peach. I didn't even pick up for half the movie that's meant to be Peach, and she's digging up bones, and there's like a mafia subplot where a guy's trying to shut it down for a business. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't figure
It's
out.
not Peach though. It's
Daisy.
That's Daisy.
Daisy.
Oh, okay. Is that not Peach in the games? I don't know.
No, they're two different characters.
That's her cousin.
And why is that's the big thing that strikes me. Why the hell is this an origin story? Like this movie's ahead of its time. I'm going to give it that much on the front. Like it's way ahead of its time because it is doing an origin story.
It
Long
sets up for the
before that-
sequel, man.
Yes,
Sets
yes,
up for
it
the
is.
It
sequel.
does, yeah.
Like they don't get their red and green gear until the last 20 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing now with everything. But
Yeah.
they were already doing it. Like they had franchises in mind. It's
Kevin Feige watched this and was like, I could do something with this. I'll create a universe.
watched it as it moved him. It's terrible. This movie's terrible. I really wanted to like it. I came into it honestly being like, I'm going to be that hipster who's like, this movie's underrated and no one appreciates it, and it's better than the 2023 version. But
Just
like,
can't do it.
It's just not. It's just bad. It's really bad.
It does have a cult following. Like, it's not a big cult following, but there are people out there who will defend this movie.
Dozens of them. Dozens.
I don't know. I think it's just it's a really interesting relic of its time.
It's fascinating.
And like looking at Nintendo's idea of like, we feel like, Mario is a really strong brand. Let's experiment with it. And this is the result of that. Is like, it's interesting how much creative control Nintendo was willing to give up on this beloved character.
Considering what Nintendo are like with their
What they're
IP.
like now.
Well,
Absolutely.
And I think this is like the genesis for
It
that.
could be.
Because I think they gave complete creative freedom. Like, just really quick, because this movie got given to this husband and wife couple who were sort of doing it. They were just like, they were super up their own ass about it. Were really like constantly being difficult to work with and making problems. And yeah, Nintendo was just like, you do it. They had no control. And just the damage this did, I think this really did stop them. And that's why we've waited 30 years for them to finally come back out. Like, the legacy looms large of this movie.
Yeah. Leguizamo is good in this movie.
Yep.
Like,
Actually,
there's some okay performances, I think. Like, I like Leguizamo on anything, but I think he's actually pretty decent in this. And not that he has a lot to work with. And I think it's a really interesting choice that this movie's mostly focused on Luigi. Luigi is my personal favorite out of the brothers, but the treatment he gets in 2023, Justice for Luigi, it's terrible.
pretty criminal, yeah. It's true. I like it. It's a good choice because Mario is not a character either, but like it kind of keeps him a bit more vague. Like he's just kind of a force to keep the narrative going, right? He's like, I've got to rescue the princess, and Luigi's the one who they can sort of work with and be like, there's a character there, because no one cares as much. Whereas if you make Mario too much of a character, people would get a bit more precious, I think.
You're probably right. Apparently, Bob Hoskins was just drunk all the time on set. Like, just
Can you blame him?
could not cope without a bottle.
Yeah, him and Leguizamo apparently were both. They just knew they were in for a bad time, so that's
Had to make the most of it.
yeah.
Dennis Hopper, not bad as well. Like, I think it's a fun performance. It's a weird character, King Koopa. Like,
So strange.
that's not Bowser. Like, Bowser is Daisy's dad, supposedly. In this
Yeah.
world, like Bowser is the fungus in the credits.
Yeah, and Lance Henriksen is.
Yeah,
It's none of the choices in this movie have a logical step. Literally none of them, right? Like, the gritty aesthetic makes no sense. Having King Koopa rather than Bowser as a villain makes no sense. The origin story makes no sense.
Toad?
Daisy's sort of the Toad and the Koopas being like enormous people with bizarre small heads is just. It makes
Which is like
dinosaurs.
It's the exact opposite of what they are in the game. They're just a head in the game, basically. Like,
it makes me so uncomfortable when I was watching it. I was like, I just couldn't figure out. It's really distracting. It's really pointless.
it's such a strange design for a character.
Makes no sense.
Like, I have nightmares about these films. Like, since I was a child.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember these things, and even still watching it, like when I watched it again, I was like, "Wow, the heads are really small." I was like, the heads are like freakishly small.
And when Toad's like following her around, he's being friendly. It's really creepy, right? Because he's meant to be. They're trying to play it off as cute. He's like an affectionate puppy. I'm like, no, there's a demon here. He's like stalking it.
And then he gets lit on fire. It's like so it's like, he's just trying to offer her veggies and he gets lit on fire. It's like, oh my
and
god.
he's got a harmonica to communicate. Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn the kidnap subplot. They're like, there's all these girls who've been kidnapped. So a lot of time spent with all these kidnapping victims.
Yeah, and like King Koopa gets like kind of rapey in one scene. Like, it's just Yoshi.
They were like, we need to lock up our
Yoshi is absolutely terrifying in this movie.
Being a literal dinosaur was not something I saw coming. Hey?
No.
It's been lurking in my mind. I'm like, who in any universe was like, kids will watch this? And I guess they did, but who was like, kids will like this movie?
Yeah, I mean, is it a kids movie?
So yeah, but who makes a Mario movie for like in 1993 for adults, right?
I don't know.
Speaking as someone who watched this a lot as a kid, I do want to just clarify. I have no memories of like loving this film as a kid. I have memories of this film as a
Yeah.
kid. Like it was just a presence in my life. I don't remember being like, oh my god, I like this scene. I just remember like things that stuck with me from this film.
That's the vibe I get. Like people grew up watching it because they were young, and it was like it's interesting if nothing else.
I have lots of movies like that from my childhood. Like
Yeah.
Gremlins is another one that just like super creeped me out, super gross and grimy. I kind of have I have like I have some nostalgia for it, but I think it's like Stockholm syndrome. Like it's something I need to dredge up from my past and deal with at some point.
I think Gremlins is actually a dope film.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it in ages.
There is something I respect there about it, right? And I have watched it since, but
yeah, like there's all those. Like I remember Dragonheart. Dragonheart's not a good film, but like I have fond memories of it, and like I remember trying to watch a bit of it as an adult, and I'm like, no, this isn't good. Nothing's working here, but it's just like, yeah, it was a dragon. When you're a kid, it's like this is the coolest thing ever. And so in this world, it's like this is a weird steampunk world with Devo guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
there's some weird world building here. Like, because the dinosaurs never went extinct, there's no fossil fuels, so that's why everything's electric. Like, somebody thought about that and put that together. Yeah, it's regularly reposted on shitty movie details on Reddit.
Oh my god!
It's like who thought this hard about this movie, and this is the result.
That's the result. Yeah. So this was my big takeaway, right? Out of these two films, there is like they're polar opposites in how adaptation can go. Like this movie is entirely solid. Like people did care about what they were making. I think the creative team behind it were like, we are extrapolating the truest essence of what it means to be a Super Mario bro.
Yeah.
And like this world is based in a strange world with dinosaurs. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean for human history? And like, what's the motivation? Like they did sort of care about what they were trying to make. It's just terribly done. Yeah. Whereas the 2023 is the complete opposite. There is no soul to that movie.
But it's very well done.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's perfectly sort of what it needs to be. And if you could somehow fuse the two, it'd be a wonderful marriage. But yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I kind of wish we'd get more of this. Like this movie is the reason we don't get more of this. But there could, this could have gone the other way and been a brilliant, take on Mario that lasted the ages and shaped Mario games to come. But
they eventually adapted the games into the movie and made that a whole sort of thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What we got was super weird. King Koopa is like a Howard Hughes germaphobe. There's just so many strange choices that I just don't. I just don't understand. It just doesn't click. It doesn't work together. I'm not sure what it is.
No, even say adapting, instead of having mushrooms, it's a fungus. It's like this fungus that just permeates everywhere. It's like, someone logically thought, how would this mushroom kingdom and toadstools everywhere actually look in real world? Or to be this infestation of like
bloody Last of Us-esque.
Yeah, really horrifying.
Yeah,
it's like, I respect it. I respect the ambition, but God, you need foresight.
How can we make these people jump really high? Let's give them electronic boots that allow them to do that. And then we get Mario and Luigi Mario. Is that their canon? I thought that's a great joke. Do that once. Do that as like he's giving fake names to the cops. But Luigi repeats it several times throughout the movie. They committed to that being their names, and it's super strange.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because part of it's like obviously he's an orphan in this. Luigi is like sort of an orphaned brother/son, and so there's a weirder sort of dynamic going to it, which I'm cool with. I like. And so I'm like, maybe that's in the world. It's like Luigi has no name, and Mario maybe Mario's
He
orphaned
found
as well.
this kid and just took him in. He was like, "You're Luigi Mario."
Yeah, he's like, I'm Mario, you're my son, brother. So I guess, yeah, you're part of my family now. Like,
Yeah.
I again, there's probably an internal logic. There's probably a document somewhere where they've mapped out how this works, like the whole history of Luigi. And they're like, well, he took on his name in 1971 when they first. But yeah, it's
They were
dumb.
planning on expanding on in the Disney Plus TV show of Luigi. Didn't do well at the box office. So
The Twin Towers disappear. Out of the scene.
man, I was
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Very much a relic of its time, and it's weird.
Wow.
People were doing that a lot in movies back then. Like the Twin Towers was a big target, and then
Yep.
it became
Yes, just-
a real life. Like it's just
Is this movie responsible for 9/11? I don't want to say that, but I'm not going to rule it out either.
that's right.
Like,
We
A lot
can't.
of bad
We
things
just
came
can't
out of
rule
this
it out.
movie.
maybe this got seen by someone somewhere when they were young and they grew up to
Like,
be.
you know what?
to do
I
something.
can change this world. as well.
Exactly. I'm just trying to think of all the club. She's a club lady, the black lady who like steals their stuff, and they go and find later, and Mario beats her up, and then she's like, right on. And then
I'll
she's
help you
into-
out now. Yeah,
It's so weird.
and like strangely sexualized for a kids movie. Like she's kind of
Yeah.
very clearly running some
Yeah.
sort of sex emporium. Like
They employed like real strippers for this scene because I think it was cheaper than extras or something. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah,
PG.
like it's an
It's like,
actual strip club. That's so weird.
Things were
Yeah.
different in the 90s.
Yeah, I guess this is part of it. Kids were kids didn't. Maybe kids just they were forgotten kids existed, and I was like, yeah, we'll watch this movie, and I don't know, parents will watch it, and kids will probably watch it, I guess, if they exist. But and parents let them watch it, even though it had all these horrible things they probably shouldn't be watching. Like, you can't do
Yeah.
that anymore. Yeah.
No. You get what we got with Mario.
Such a relic.
Did you guys buy any of the chemistry with Luigi and Daisy?
Not really. Daisy does not seem interested in anything Luigi is doing.
No. Which is a shame because
It's unfortunate.
yeah, because like I think Leguizamo really kind of saves this movie into what it's got. Like he brings a good pathos to it, and like he's fun. He's always fun, but he kind of feels when he's being earnest, he feels earnest. Like no, I really like Bob Hoskins. That's the one thing I like this Mario in terms of this just like kind of rough Brooklyn plumber who's just like
What do you
I'm
want to
just-
imagine as like a Brooklyn plumber? He's
yeah,
like,
like exactly. And then I'm going to run through bricks and literally just knock stuff over. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the Mario we know.
yeah.
I think that dynamic really worked for me. Is that going for it?
Like, I don't think this movie's a total loss. There's interesting things about it. I love that it got made. Like, that's the thing I like the most about it, probably, is that we have this point in history where Nintendo gave up creative control of Mario. And we got
regretted
this.
30 years.
But, yeah. Do I want to watch it again? Not really.
I don't think. I was just thinking. I don't think I'll ever watch this film again in my life. That's it.
I see why it was only streaming on like one streaming service on SBS. It's like no one else has got to pay for the rights to this.
No.
It really is just like, yeah, I'm super glad it exists. It's a fascinating piece of history. What did you guys think of the two jokes that were again strange? The pizza joke where he orders the pizza and then he calls back to it later. He's like, "Where's my pizza?" Don't even remember it.
I don't even know if I was
didn't even
following the film
register.
that closely.
Like this movie predicts Zoom calls. So there's a part where he calls up a pizza place and King Koopa's like, "I'll get the Koopa special," and there's a whole little like extra lizard, none of this on the side, and they call back to it later, so it was a big part.
Yeah.
And what about the Goombas dancing? The whole, Luigi gets out of jail by dancing with
Terrible.
No, legitimately, that's the scene I remember from my childhood. Is like,
Yes.
I don't know why. That's the scene. I just remember them getting rocked back and forth, and all of them rocking, and the elevator it cuts back, and like the elevator opens, and them all just rocking, and the dude's like, ah, and he like goes off and scares them.
That
found that
elevator is
hilarious.
burned into my brain for some
Yeah,
reason.
literally, that's the one thing I could remember. That and the fungus dude hanging from the ceiling and ripping a lot of fungus while they're talking to it. That's my two memories for this film. So yeah, I don't mind that scene. I found it funny, but yeah,
So weird.
that's nostalgia. That's pure nostalgia for me.
Yeah, it's a hell of a thing. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the connection. I was like, what does this translate from the game? And I don't think there is one. Is there an Easter egg when Goombas dance or something that I'm missing?
No.
There's a character named Luigi.
They all move in unison when you load that part of the screen, right? Like they all have their set path that they walk on. I don't know. That's a
We
stretch,
need the
though.
characters. We need to find out the deep detail on that.
They're
There
never
is a
seen again.
there's a fascinating I can't remember which one. I think it's the Collider article that's like a deep dive into the history, and it's really like really riveting. It's just like this complete mess, just getting worse and worse and worse, and like how does this happen? And yeah, this is the end product. And it's like I said at the top, the story behind the movie is so much more interesting. And
Yeah, I feel
But
like
yeah.
I'd rather watch a documentary on this
Yes,
film.
yeah,
Than the film itself.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like that's the Mario film we should have.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move on.
Yes,
Super
please.
Mario Bros. Movie 2023. The IMDb line for this movie is very, very complicated, so strap in. The story of the Super Mario Bros. On their journey through the Mushroom Kingdom.
That's it.
I mean, do we
It
need anything
accomplishes
more?
The whole plot.
That's right. It's interesting how much this plot mirrors the 1993 movie in some ways, like the whole dual universes thing.
Yeah,
Starting in
and like
Brooklyn, then
and Mario going down and fixing a pipe, and that being the catalyst for them being taken to the other universe is a super weird coincidence.
yeah. That's what I was saying before. Where this movie has no soul. I do feel like the screenwriters like this movie feels like a first draft or maybe a second draft. I don't know. There's a lot of repeats of jokes and weird things that just don't need to exist. And I wonder if they were like, how do we get to the Mushroom Kingdom? Like, I don't know. Remember that other movie they made? They just did that. Like, let's do that again. And it's like, yeah, okay.
I feel like this is the opposite of a first draft. Like this sat through several committees. This was the result. They didn't like it, so they did a bunch of reshoots, cut together the footage they had, and this is the movie we got. And it's like ultra safe, ultra sanitized.
possible movie.
They reduced the amount that Chris Pratt speaks because there was bad feedback on that. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, like, mate, yeah. I mean, there probably was a long drafting process. I guess it just makes like, I think he said there's about 6 slow motion scenes of Mario saying "Mamma Mia," and I'm like, that feels to me like someone was writing like we need to keep hitting this point that he says "Mamma Mia," and no one ever went through it again and was like, "You say this too much."
Yeah,
There's that, and like,
I had that moment towards the end. Like towards the end of the film, I kept waiting. Like because obviously it's in the trailer. I kept waiting for like the woohoo, and I was waiting for it. And then we get it towards the end of the film, and then in about 10 minutes, we get it like 8 more times. Like we get the original voice actor obviously popping up and doing it again in the final scene, and it feels like his dad does the wahoo, and then he does it again. And it felt like they were like, shit, we didn't do the wahoo enough. Let's go back, chuck a bunch in it at the end.
Yeah.
Like I felt like that while I watched it the first time. I was just like, oh, that's
wait,
weird.
you saw this more than once?
I did. I've seen this movie twice.
Oh.
So yeah.
Luke, I was
with
curious.
both my
Did your kids enjoy this movie? Because
They-
we saw it in a movie full of children, like a cinema full of children, and there was nary a laugh to be heard. But
Yeah,
That's the thing.
did they
Like,
enjoy it?
They did. They did enjoy
Right.
it. Like I took my daughter the next day. She went and watched it with me, and she enjoyed it. Like she enjoyed it for what it was. But it's the same thing. It's not like there wasn't laughter. It's like basically just visually appealing to kids, sort of thing. I feel like
Yeah.
it's like, and they like the characters. They came home and talked about the characters and like copied a couple of things. But it's like, yeah, it's not deep. It's not like it's not. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to these films. Like it's
no substance. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just not funny.
No,
Like
it's like 90 minutes of visual stimulation. And
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
over. There's no. Yeah.
and dot point to dot point to dot point to dot point dot point. Boom. There we go.
Yeah. 'Cause I saw it in a movie. I saw it by myself. This grown man. I went there with a cup of coffee, and there was
Yeah.
always just kids and their parents there. I was like, oh, this feels weird. I feel like a predator.
Did they like it?
But the other kids, I don't know. I didn't ask them. I
But
didn't
like,
look around.
what was the reaction like in the cinema? Because like
Oh, no,
Brianna said,
look,
we went to
yeah.
like opening session, and it was like pretty
Oh, okay.
quiet throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. No, similar thing. Yeah, no laughs, like nothing. And there was a lot of really awkward bits where the nihilistic star, like that was the main joke. I feel is
Yeah.
like They kept cutting back to that and being like, oh yeah, that's. But those are jokes that are aimed at like
the adults watching it with the kids there.
Yeah. But even
Yep.
then, it's kind of like this movie feels like it's kind of marketed about like a somewhere around like the 10-year-old spot. Like it's not marketed at really little kids. It's not marketed at teenagers. It's not marketed at adults. It's marketed at a very specific group of children who I think would love the visual stimulation, but aren't going to appreciate some of the other bits. And so there's jokes. So even like the parents, none of the parents really laughed. And I was like, this kind of feels like it's for super, super, super late millennials or kind of earlier Zoomers, like people sort of from our generation, but a bit younger, who have really grown up with the whole like nihilism on the internet joke.
Mhm.
And so that's that. And I'm like, no one else in this audience is kind of in that. Like kids aren't really into that. Parents aren't into that. And so it was just really confusing to me. I'm like, all these jokes they make no sense. They're not for who I think this movie's for.
So, like the two things I think about, like, because when I was trying to think, like, oh, there was no laughs throughout it, I was like, where would there be laughs? I kept being like, where is there something that's meant to be for a laugh? Like, I honestly just feel like it's them going through these scenarios, but there's nothing like that feels like it's meant to be funny. The only time me and Griner laughed at one thing, and it was Seth Rogen's laugh. As soon as we heard Seth Rogen's laugh, we chuckled and we're like, "Oh, that's."
I mean, I had moments where I'm like, I don't know, breathing faster through my nose because, but it's mostly the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where I'm sitting there pointing at the screen saying, "That's the reference. It's the GameCube ringtone on his phone."
Yeah, exactly.
Or that's Charles Martinet doing the Wahoo. Or
exactly.
like there wasn't. I don't know. Maybe kids don't have to have funny stuff. Like maybe this can be just a journey, this film. Like it doesn't have to be funny. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like when I was a kid I wanted things to be funny, and I was thinking like there's so much room for slapstick in a world where a character can just shrink down when they lose their power up, and they don't even do that very well. Like there is that one moment where you think, oh, Mario's going to complete the obstacle course, and then he gets chomped by the piranha plant. And it's like, oh, there's a little giggle there. But, like, why isn't he getting hit in the nuts or anything like that? That's kids' movie comedy.
Yeah. That's the thing. The movie, the whole time, I always talk about this, but I wanted this to be a really funny comedy. Like, when Donkey Kong appears, I'm like, how funny would it be if it's like, I challenge you to this two-dimensional obstacle course, and it's just a recreation of the original Donkey Kong game where it's throwing barrels down?
Yep.
And there's just room for material. It's like, oh, why are we doing this? And like, I don't know, we just do. Like, there's so much comedy you could have put into this movie. Like I say, there's so much. It's naturally slapsticky, but they don't work with any of it. Like, I listened to a podcast and made a good point. Comedy is really hard to translate, as in because a lot of jokes are generally verbal, and so if you translate the language, it'll get lost. Delivery gets lost. The wordplay doesn't work. All that stuff. And this movie is finally produced in a test tube by Nintendo to be like, this needs to work everywhere.
Yeah.
Like the French need to love this as much as the Chinese, as much as like anyone. And so we cannot make anything at all that is too relevant. Like, there's no real references to Brooklyn or like American isms. And like you compare it to the 1993 one, there's a lot of jokes about like going to Brooklyn and how it's changed from Queens of like sports teams in New York. And like, so there's no reference to that. There is no like quips. It's all like, this would sell to children everywhere because of the lights and the brightness and like.
I didn't mind at the start you get the scene of Mario and Luigi and their family together, but I thought, play up the Italianness. Like give me this real Italian family. Make one of these guys the Godfather or something. Like give me something fun like that. And instead we just get this really boring kind of nutty professor style family where they look the same. They all seem like they're voiced by the same person. Yeah. There's no comedy there. There's no joke there. And maybe you're right. Maybe because that just doesn't translate to another language. It just doesn't work when you move it over.
It's kind of funny by not making it kind of like offensive or anything. It feels a bit offensive because it's like, this is the most cliched Italian family without being aware of the parody.
Yeah.
It's like an AI created a Mario movie. Like it's literally like we go here, we do this, we have a scene where they're on a plumbing job and it goes bad, and then now we're here, and it's like
it's like we're an Italian family. So Italians all look like this. Italians all say what I say.
Yeah,
I think in that dinner scene there's 3 people who say what did I say, And I'm
Yeah.
like, how is this happening? How has anyone written this?
And all
I
of them
don't
are Chris Pratt.
and I'm like, yeah, ironically, this is kind of more like, oh, this is pretty like either Illumination doesn't think Italian people are real, or they went to like the most cliched version, like that's it. And like, yeah, you're right. You could have made a parody. You could have had a Godfather. You could have had someone really talking it up, but they don't want to lean into that too much. And as a result, it's. I hate Illumination. Illumination's the devil. That studio needs to die.
Not a big Minions fan.
Oh,
So
What else have they done other than the Minions movies? Like everyone talks about Illumination, but that's their movies, right? They're not big
So
on
it's
anything else.
Megamind?
no,
Or I
that
don't
was
know.
DreamWorks. So they did Minions, like Despicable Me Minions.
Yeah.
They did the Sing films,
Oh
Sing
yeah,
and Sing
my
2.
wife likes those.
I don't mind Sing.
But is that just because no, Sing 2 is atrocious.
Is it?
I've only seen Sing
Seen
2.
it.
I don't know why. Is that just because? But I feel like that movie's sold on the songs because everyone's like Leonardo
Yeah.
DiCaprio in there. It's like I know that song. That's fun to see a pig singing Bad Romance. That's not a joke. That's not funny, guys. And they also
A
made
little bit funny.
Nah,
It is.
they also made Secret Life of Pets, which I never watched.
That's actually not bad either. That's not bad either.
Let me guess. You think is Illumination better than Pixar?
No chance.
Sounds like you're back on it.
So, apart from the soulness of this movie, it is filled with references. Like, did you guys enjoy that? I did a bit. Like, I think I was a target audience for a lot of them, and they did hit me. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I said, the GameCube ringtone. Look at the posters on the wall. It's all these games. He's playing Kitty Chris on his Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like all the little sound effects and stuff. And the music had, they always, included a bit of the original song in there. And I think that was done well.
Yeah. So this is what I actually wanted to touch on, though. This is a bit of a tangent, but I'm not sure if you guys have seen the discourse around this film and its use of licensed music. Have you seen this?
Yes.
There's been a lot
atrocious.
of discourse about
What
this
do you-
film.
what do you
and
mean?
it's- Like, basically, I can't go a day on Twitter without seeing someone being like, they used Take On Me instead of this piece of thing, because they've got the score, right? And they're like, so this person composed this score for this scene, and they've lined it up with that scene. And like, this is when, they're going on the carts to visit Cranky Kong or whatever. And this is the thing for this, and they replace that with Take On Me for some reason. And then there's like the one for the obstacle course, and they replace that for
I Need a Hero.
I Need a Hero, and basically being like, what's the deal with this? They ruined this. This is this. It's soulless. What's your guys' take on that? And because there is, when I watched it even the second time, because I'd seen that discourse, it's like every couple minutes, it's like, okay, here we go. And there's another licensed song with like a bit of a montage thing that we're doing. And it's like the most licensed songs you can use.
Yeah,
for
it
animation films.
really feels like they're just all the songs that are so overused in every animated movie. Like, I wanted to look up, how many. There must be a tool out there where you can like search "Take on Me" and then give me the list of movies that use that song, because, oh geez, I feel like it would be a long list.
It's a lot, yeah.
Mr. Blue Sky, Holding Out for a Hero, Thunderstruck, Take on Me,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that
No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah, like I'm glad this is the discourse. 'Cause I had the exact same thought. And the first thing a guy at work said to me was like, they don't use the music from like Mario Kart when they're riding Mario Kart
No.
through a road. And it's like, and he told me that. I was like, yeah, it sounds bad. And when it happened, and when I witnessed it for the first time, I was like, oh, this is awful. And you're right, like the Holding Out for a Hero. I'm like, Shrek did this better 23 years ago, and like now it's beyond a parody. And yeah, like No Sleep Till Brooklyn when they're running through Brooklyn. That's yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Good work. Like, yeah.
It's just like the safest possible options.
Yeah.
Like, it just,
This is-
yeah.
This is why I don't get when people like the music's good with the original score. I can't even remember it because all I can think of is the music was bad licensed songs. I'm like, I don't. nothing.
Everything outside of that is good. Like,
But
You do
yeah.
get, yeah.
These
you do get-
overshadowed. Yeah, I guess this just overshadowed it for me. Like,
sure.
I can't remember any parts because I'm like, all I remember is Thunderstruck playing with cars. I'm like, how many friggin' times have I seen this in my life?
But I don't. Here's the thing, and this is where I bring it up, but I do disagree with some of the discourse. All right, because for us, like for kids, say so my kids, like I don't know, we watched Shrek when we were younger, and I loved Holding Out for a Hero in Shrek 2. When that comes on, that scene's a banger, and I used to, and I've loved that song ever since, and so I didn't even mind it when it popped up here. I was like, okay, cool, I like this song, I like this scene, and my kids, like Grana can even attest, like my son, when Thunderstruck came on, he was like, oh. He was like, I know this song. How cool is this? That this is in Mario. He was like, yeah, thunder, and he like got into it. And I don't know if, not defending it, but I think it is very safe and it's for kids. And having that song for kids is, I think, way more appealing to them to have this like, oh wow, cool. That's this catchy song that I can listen to instead of a piece of a score. Like they won't want to listen to that song or remember that song down the line. And it's not for us. This film.
I guess when it's targeted for kids, you're not wrong, I suppose.
Yeah. To answer your question at the beginning, like all the references to stuff, I think I'm honestly the worst audience for this movie because I didn't get enough of the references. Like there were obviously parts, like that talking star. I found out later that's something else. That's from Galaxy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what that's meant to be. I'm not sure if there's something here.
Well, see, the deeper meaning behind that is that, like, when stars die, they become like a supernova.
I mean, that is their goal. That is their goal in the game, supposedly, to die and create a new galaxy. But anyway,
exactly. Yeah, okay.
I had to ask Grana when the movie finished. I was like, "So what's the star from?" I was like, "So what? Why is that very loathing?"
Yeah. Like there's just little moments that I didn't get many of them. There was no references to. I was waiting for Mario to grab Bowser by the tail and spin him around for a really long time and then throw him.
Yeah.
But it never happened. And I was like, oh, well, that's the extent of my knowledge. So I'm bad because I didn't get any of the references. And I also am not an 8-year-old child to be like, Thunderstruck sounds good. So this movie was never good. This form of movie cannot work on me because it's avoiding everything that I am.
No one got invited to like a Mario party. Or anything like that.
I mean, they did Mario Kart. To be fair, they did.
They did Rainbow.
They got to save stuff for the sequel.
The sequel will be a Mario Party, and then a Super Smash Bros. Someone, Kirby will show up or something.
This is my question: is this the new MCU? Is this what we have now? Do we have every year or two we have either a Mario film or at least a video game? Like,
do you think? I think we get like a Luigi's Mansion style movie. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask two questions quickly. Conan, did you stay for both post credits?
No, I knew there was going to be one, and as soon as the credits were up, I was like, "Get me out of here!"
Didn't want
I need a hard scotch and a cigarette. Wow. All right.
Do you know what the post credit scene is?
Like Yoshi appears, right?
Yeah,
Yoshi.
It's
we get Jack Black singing again.
It's the worst kind of stinger of just like we're gonna have a sequel.
Yeah.
No shit.
And just a question. Obviously, with Nintendo IP, like my first thought coming out of this, I was like, yeah, they're going to do probably Luigi's Mansion. Even Luigi's chapter in this, when he went to that different dimension, felt like Luigi's Mansion, and it felt pretty cool like that. But do we get like a Zelda movie? Can you see Zelda working in this Illumination animated format?
I don't know.
God, if it's Illumination, I'll kill someone.
Yeah, I wonder if they shop it around to someone else. I don't know.
Because there was that Netflix was originally trying to make a series of that years ago, if you remember, and that kind of I think quietly just died because Nintendo was like, no, you can't do it. Like
there's always that rumor. Yeah,
it seems it's like this sort of adaptation has been a long time coming, like you said before, Luke, and it's doing so well. And it's kind of like, we're now at a point where technology and CGI can do it so perfectly that it looks identical to a game. Yeah, there's no world where this doesn't now create everything you can think of. We don't get Zelda. My real concern is that they all become soulless recreations by Illumination, a company that has proven time and time again to have no backbone or quality or dignity or purpose to exist.
Jesus.
What we need is, you know this, we need Peter Jackson out there making Zelda.
Oh man, give me a trilogy. Give me a Legend of Zelda trilogy.
But they're just going to be like, how do we make a really safe, harmless adventure story? And it'll make bank, I'll see it, but it's not going to,
Chris Pratt voices Link and just goes,
brother.
Speaking of Chris Pratt, we haven't talked about it. Leading up to this movie, that was the big question: is how is Chris Pratt going to voice Mario? What did you guys think of the voice acting? Chris Pratt. We'll start with him.
He was fine, and
yes,
I wasn't part of the discourse where everyone was hating on him. Everyone seems to hate him online.
Yeah,
and honestly, it was fine. I'm glad they didn't stick with the very thick Italian stuff, and it was sort of played for laughs, like, oh, I did that for a commercial. But it's fine. It's like I'm happy with it. It wasn't distracting or anything like that. So yeah.
I thought that was a really clever way to get that issue out of the way.
Yeah,
like, here's the Italian accent. It's like, oh no, it's a commercial. It's like, cool, that's funny.
Here's the Italian accent. Could you imagine this for a whole hour and a half? No, good. We'll get it out of the way and go to this really harmless voice instead.
Yeah, and he's doing a great Jelly Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like you can tell he's doing a hard Brooklyn accent. And it's it's fine.
Charlie Day is Luigi. I enjoyed him. Like, Luigi has nothing to do in this movie, unfortunately.
Nothing.
But
other than yell Mario.
Yeah. I think his voice works well. I mean, Charlie Day has nothing to do either in this movie, but yeah.
Yep.
Like my problem with all the casting is that none of them can do much except for Jack Black.
Jack Black
is the standout.
Yeah.
Like, perfect casting, perfect role, like perfect execution by him. Because then on the flip side, you got Donkey Kong, who's literally Seth Rogen. He's just like, I'm not doing a voice.
I mean, Seth Rogen came out beforehand and he's like, I don't do voices. Like, you hired me, I'm going to do Seth Rogen.
But I like that. I don't mind Donkey Kong's voice being Seth Rogen's voice.
I think it kind of worked, yeah.
It kind of worked. Just being this, like, I don't know. It's great.
I think Cranky Kong was a miscast.
Yeah, he was weird. Like, he was a very strange. That choice from Fred Armisen or whatever his name is. He's doing a bit, and I don't think this is working for anyone because
him being like this old Jewish dude felt very strange.
It was. Again, that's the meta reference. That's like, all right, I guess because that's you and Seth Rogen. He's Jewish as well. Like, there's some sort of joke here. Yeah. But it's not playing to any of your audience.
No, and we're not going to push it. We're not going to do anything that might be risky. We're just going to. You can read into it if you want, but we didn't. We didn't tell you to do that. Anya Taylor-Joy, I think she's really good as Peach.
She puts in a performance more than, like, she has more to do. I feel like, but it's very
He's more of an offsider. Like, she is the two I see here.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. There's always that old problem with it. It's like of casting celebrities versus casting voice actors.
Yeah,
and she was one that stood out to me of like, she's not a voice actor. I think she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah,
but she's not a good voice actor. And that's why in this, it's like, you can tell it's her. There's nothing really here. I know it's hard to describe, but the whole, like, all the others feel like there's something. Charlie Day. Even he's not allowed to do crazy Charlie screaming high pitched when he should, like, or rambling on like he should.
Yeah.
But he still works because his voice is very interesting. And Keegan-Michael Key is doing a thing.
Yeah.
But Anya just feels nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like, that is my big problem with the casting of this movie is, like, I do feel like, loading your movie up with celebrities for voice acting is such a mistake. Like, do you think it draws an audience? Do you think people are seeing this movie because, I mean, Jack Black is probably the one person I think is working here, but only because you keep hearing about his performance. And then, I don't know if you guys are getting this, but I keep getting news articles about how the Peaches song is eligible for an Oscar nomination. I'm like, I don't care. Like, stop telling me this.
It's not going to be.
No, that's right. It was good. Like, it was probably one of the best parts of the whole movie.
But again, it starts to get funny when he's like, Peaches, and he's doing his Jack Black.
And he gets Jack Black,
And then it cuts out. And it's like, I'm like, no, let him go for 2 minutes. Just doing
Let it go on too long and get kind of strange. Yeah.
Yes,
that's funny.
Yeah.
But we don't get it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I think that's, like, if you remember back in, like, the Disney days where they started doing stunt casting, and it'd be like, oh, this really famous actor is doing the lead voice in this film. And that was a bit of a thing because movie stars and, they still existed back then. It was still a bit more of a mystique. Whereas we don't live in that time anymore. And so, no one's seeing movies because a AAA actor is in it. And so even casting this, like, announcing all these casts, I feel like it did nothing for the movie except create problems because it was just like, no one wanted to see Chris Pratt. Everyone was skeptical about Seth Rogen. Well, not skeptical, but just like really curious at least, like, what the hell is that going to do?
Mm.
Everything I saw was like very, very tepid about Anya Taylor. It was like, okay, is she a voice actor? What is this? So it's just,
Yeah.
it didn't really do anything. I think, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Anything else you want to add about Super Mario Bros. Movie?
What do you guys rate this? Like, out of 5 or 10, what would you rate this?
It's like a 3 out of 5. Like I don't have a negative opinion of this
My
movie.
ratings are
It
good.
just
I'd say
it's just fine.
it's
Yeah,
a solid 6.
Yeah, okay.
It's a 3
As-
out of 5.
as
It's the
in-
same thing.
Yeah,
No,
that's 3 out of 5. Yeah, 6 out of 10.
For, like, here's the thing. It wasn't bad. I didn't dislike watching it, and it wasn't like, oh my god, I need to watch it a second time. It's an hour and a half. It's a sweet spot. It was, and I feel like like it's obviously got a pacing problem because it literally is just like boom, 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 boom. But
It's
watching
resolved
that
in 10
even a
minutes,
second
yeah.
time, it just
Yeah.
flies by. It's like, okay, cool, we're already at this scene, and then it's like it's over. It's harmless. It's fine. Entertain my kids.
Oh shit! They fell off Rainbow Road and now they're in the water. How are they going to get out of this predicament? Oh, 2 seconds later, it's solved. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Like, are we going to have an underwater level? No, we're not. We're
Yeah.
just going
Even
to.
if it felt like anytime there was any conflict with someone being like, no, I'm not going to help you. Mario's just like, you're going to help me. And then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you do this and I'll help you then. And then it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it does.
Even like Princess Peach finds out about Bowser stealing the star and she's just like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm going to go do this. And
Yeah,
then,
that
like,
was.
and the Captain Toad's just like, God bless you. Like, okay, good luck with that. And it's just like, she's off on her quest now. It's like, there's no
There's no build up.
backstory.
That was
No.
the weirdest one to me. It's like, here's Princess Peach, and it's revealed, and she's like, I'm leaving on this quest. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Conan, what's your rating?
Like, on Letterboxd, I gave it 2 out of 5. It's like, I feel like my instinct
It's
is
a
to give
5
it,
out of 10.
that's like 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like giving it a more negative, but similar deal. Like, it's just so harmless, and I see why every choice was made. And at the end of the day, like, it looks like Mario. Like, it does look as this movie should. Like, Mario looks just like Mario. Everyone kind of looks CG and bouncy and colorful. And yeah, it ticks all those boxes really well. It's just every other choice is IMO.
Have you guys watched the Sonic movie?
The first one. Yep.
Yeah, true. Just
No, I know you're a fan. I know you're a big.
Jim Carrey's great in that film, and he's the
Yeah, it feels like it's got more soul than this movie. Even the voice actor, what's his name of Sonic?
It's like I know that's the thing. It's not like a
Gene
famous actor.
Ralphio. He's like
Yeah,
he's Ben Schwartz. He's good too.
Ben
like
Schwartz. Yeah.
Is he in the same ilk as Charlie Day? Right? He's got an interesting voice. He can play
Yes.
with it. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
The Sonic movie definitely feels like it's got a plot. It's got soul.
And it feels like they said, "Oh, Ben Schwartz, do some improv here." Like Jim Carrey, go to town because we've got freaking
Big
Jim
Jim
Carrey. Of
Carrey.
course, we're
Go
going to let
for
him
it.
do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like they said that to Jack Black, and then they cut the scene. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Don't get too crazy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, my other thoughts. What did you guys think of the father, the father, like, what's my words? The father problem that Mario has, because that's kind of his propulsion, right? Like, his purpose for this story is to prove his daddy wrong. Like, did that work for you?
No.
I forgot about it.
Well, I know we all have.
Twice.
I know we all have daddy issues here, so I feel like this was speaking to us.
True. Yeah. No. Like it. It's so easily resolved too at the end. It's just like, oh, good on you. You saved the world. I love you now, and I'm proud of you.
Again, it feels like an AI being like, there has to be family conflict at the dinner table.
Yeah.
He goes to his room solemnly. And then, like, then that's it. It's like literally the most basic, bare bones of what constitutes for a movie. But looks good.
That's and kids would look at that and go, "My dad is also an authority figure that I don't quite know
My
how I
dad
feel
yells out
about."
at the dinner table and says, I'm bringing my brother down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are we rating them? I mean, I think 2023 is better than 1993, but it's a
Yes.
I don't know. It's which shit sandwich do you want to eat? I don't know.
I don't know if I could watch the 83 one again. Oh, 93 one anytime soon.
Nah, I don't plan to.
Yeah, on those merits alone, it would. Yeah, the 2023 is better. But in terms, if I have to talk about legacy culture, any sort of relevance to the medium, there's not even a question. 1993 is much better.
Which one would you rather watch a documentary about? I don't want to
Yes.
know about the 2023 one.
No,
I basically know all I need to know.
Yeah.
Yep. Although I do want to see a 4-hour director's cut of the 2023 version, where Jack Bowser, not Jack Bowser,
Jack Bowser.
President of Nintendo.
Jack like doing Bowser for 6 minutes, and they actually have story for every character. I want that.
Yep.
Like, I want to see Donkey Kong smoking a joint.
Yes.
I actually had that thought too. Like,
There should have been something, man.
He
You
could
have
be
to
a
make
stoner,
a weak
couldn't
joke
he?
with
Like,
Seth Rogen. Like, has to be like he comes out of his room, like he's teenage. I don't know. Have him be a stony teenager.
Yeah, after he gets defeated, he just like rips one. It's like he's bumming out.
What's that bubbling noise I can hear? Nothing. Let's move on.
Oh, so much wasted potential.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. If you like this podcast, we do have another podcast. I'm not sure where it is or what it's doing, but it's transforming. It's currently in a cocoon and it's going to emerge a beautiful butterfly. But there's a big history of podcasts there on Bonus XP where we're talking about video games. Go and check it out.
We talked about the casting of this movie when it was originally announced.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, we're on to it.
We were all hating on Chris Pratt, so if you enjoyed that part of our podcast, go check that out. This podcast was brought to you by a book by Conan Clark, The Taste of Iron. I do not have it on my desk currently due to renovations, but there we go. Luke's got it. Check it out on Amazon. Conan, what are we doing next fortnight?
So we're doing a non-linear trilogy. We're doing more of a thematic trilogy again. It's the John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. So that is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. Some good adult horror, we all need more of in life.
To cleanse the Mario.
Yeah.
Our eyes.
Yes, the opposite of safe. These movies.
yes.
Where we are in danger because we're watching them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. Catch us next week, and we'll see you next time.
Woohoo!
Yep.